Hello, my name is Alan Baker. I'm a volunteer fraud fighter with the AARP Fraud Watch Network in California. The AARP Fraud Watch Network is a free fraud prevention and education resource available to anyone. Our network is all about helping communities avoid frauds and scams through information, education, events, and resources. Thank you all for joining us for our first conversation in a series of weekly interactive fraud prevention and education conversations that we're co-hosting throughout August with our friends at the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. I hope you will help us make this an interactive conversation by sharing your comments and experiences and by asking your questions. As always, we have set aside time at the end of today's presentations to answer your questions. You may also ask a question in the Zoom Q&A, and it will be answered during the question and answer time. Today, we'll be talking about how scammers are using cryptocurrencies, also known as digital currencies, and how scammers use those cryptocurrencies to commit frauds and scams. Now let's meet our guests for today's conversation. It's my pleasure to welcome Sally Westlake. Sally is with the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. Also with us is Lisa Feldman. Lisa is a prosecutor with the United States Attorney's Office in the Cyber and Intellectual Property Crimes section. Welcome, Sally and Lisa, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
So, Sally, would you please start us off by telling us what the California Department of Financial Protection Innovation is and what the agency does?
Well, thank you, Alan. Great to be here. And thank you all for joining us today on this very important topic. So the California Department of Financial Protection Innovation, or DFPI, informally known as the Department of Business Oversight, is a state agency that regulates the financial services industry. We regulate, license, and oversee financial institutions, professionals, and products, like state-chartered banks, credit unions, investment advisors, payday lenders, mortgage loan servicers, money transmitters, and many more. A complete list can be found on our website at dfpi.ca.gov. Our role is to examine companies to ensure compliance with state and federal law. We take action against those companies and professionals that are operating illegally and are using unlawful, deceptive, or abusive practices. We also investigate consumer complaints, and we educate Californians to avoid financial harm and to make sure that they can make safe financial decisions. Now, if you have a question or need to file a complaint, please visit our website at dfpi.ca.gov or call us at 866-275-2677.
Thank you, Sally. That's good to know. So, Sally, today we're talking about how scammers use cryptocurrencies, also known as digital currencies, to commit frauds and scams. Can you tell our audience first what these currencies are?
Yes, Alan. So cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Dogecoin are soaring in popularity these days. Now, these virtual currencies, which are not regulated, can lead to profit for some investors. But while many consumers are new to crypto, scammers aren't, and they're finding all sorts of ways to run successful scams. So what are crypto assets? The term crypto assets refers to a digital asset, which may be a medium of exchange for which generation or ownership records are supported through a blockchain technology. So digital currency is any currency that's available exclusively in electronic form. It operates free of any central control or the oversight of banks or governments. Instead, it relies on peer-to-peer software and cryptography. So it's designed to act as money and a form of payment. Now, what differentiates digital currency from the electronic currency that's already in America's bank accounts is that digital currency never takes physical form. Right now, you can go to any ATM and easily transform the electronic record of your currency holdings into physical dollars. Digital currency, however, never leaves a computer network, and it is exchanged exclusively via digital means. Bitcoin is one example of a digital currency. Non-fungible tokens, or NFTs, is a token that represents ownership of a unique digital item. Think of a work of art, government ID, or a specific unit of production. An NFT certifies that the holder owns the underlying digital asset and can sell, trade, or redeem it. So it can be used for providing your identity and granting access, tokenizing your supply chain to track inventory movement and ownership of virtual items like games, avatars, like virtual land. And then there's also asset-backed tokens, which are digital claims on a physical asset and are backed by that asset, like gold, crude oil, real estate, or just about any other real physical asset can be tokenized and become an asset-backed token. For example, if you had a painting valued at $20,000, asset tokenization could convert ownership of this asset into, let's say, 20,000 tokens. Each token represents fractional ownership in the painting. In this example, it would require 20,000 asset tokens to own the painting fully. Then there's tokenized real estate, which is when the asset is fragmented into digital tokens that represent the underlying property with all its rights and obligations. So anyone who buys or owns a token owns a part of the real estate, and they're entitled to the underlying asset and the associated profits and losses as well. Next slide, please. So,
wow, that's
Sorry.
Thank you, Sally. Just appreciate the explanation to get us started. That's complex. Can you now go on to tell us a bit more about how the scammers are using digital currencies to scam us, and then the things that we should know to keep us safe whenever we are dealing with crypto? Sure,
Alan. I'm going to go ahead and start off with some of the things that you need to be careful of when it comes to crypto assets. So I'm going to start off with be careful with crypto, because cryptocurrency or crypto assets do not have the same level of regulation as traditional financial services. Unlike traditional bank accounts, there is no government insurance if your crypto disappears. Again, there's no FDIC backing. Investing in or purchasing crypto assets does not guarantee that you're going to make money. If someone is making that promise, it's a red flag. So ask yourself, why are you investing in cryptocurrency? There's a myriad of investment vehicles available to you out there, and many which offer greater stability and less risk than digital currencies. Next slide, please. So again, be careful with crypto. No legitimate companies is going to force you to pay in cryptocurrencies or other crypto assets. Scammers are going to use names of their tokens that are very familiar to popular cryptocurrencies in hopes that you will not notice, or you're going to think that these are associated with the real cryptocurrencies. Look at the crypto assets names carefully and do your research before you start thinking about investing. So I'm going to go, next slide, please. So we're going to go ahead and talk about a few common crypto assets that scammers are using right now. So the first one would be purchasing or withdrawal fee scams. Scammers promise large profits if an investor provides them with money to purchase crypto assets. Make sure that the website you're considering is a real company. Again, do your research. If this scam, when people try to withdraw their earnings, scammers say that the consumer needs to pay taxes or fees. Most of the time, there are no returns. The original investment is gone, and those taxes and fees are just ways for scammers to get more money out of you. So here's an example of a real scam reported from our crypto scam tracker on our website. So I'm going to tell you just a little story that's been posted on our website. A victim was involved in WhatsApp group chat where the group was talking about profits they made from trading on a platform called ICEX, or Intercontinental Exchange. So when the victim asked questions, a couple by the name of Paul and Anna Chen took turns answering them, as did a couple of other people, Nanur and Qatar. Eventually, the victim was invited to an online Discord and Telegram community chat group where they shared a link to ICX, and Anna demonstrated live trading on the ICEX.TEE.TOP platform. And through this Discord channel, the victim was then directed to create an ICEX account and crypto.com trading account. And they were walked through on how to trade. So on this initial investment of $500, he was shown that he had made a profit of $3,000. So after that, the victim took out personal loans totaling $140,000 and borrowed money from friends, hoping to increase profits. And at some point, he believed he had made $890,000 in profit. But before he could access anything, he was first asked then to pay an account verification fee of $17,000 and $6,000 for taxes. Even though then he paid these fees, he was denied further access to his account. After that, the victim could not reach any of the scammers on the platform he had previously used, and poof, the money was gone. Next slide, please. So another common crypto asset scam would be romance scams. Now, we all want to be in love, find a lifelong partner to spend the rest of our life with. Well, more and more Americans are turning to social media and dating apps to find love, and scammers are right there along with you. So scammers create that feeling of trusting relationship and then claim that they need money and request that their victim send it to them in the form of crypto asset. Or maybe they say that they have a relative that's very good at crypto investing. So I'm going to tell you another story that's from a victim that's reported, again, on our crypto scam tracker on our website. So a California victim reports that Bill reached out to her via Instagram, where they communicated for about 2 weeks before Bill asked to move the conversation to WhatsApp. Bill then mentioned trading in crypto assets and asked if she was interested. The victim agreed, and Bill sent her the links and instructed her on how to create accounts on the platform called Energize Trade. And with Bill's help, the victim started trading Ethereum on Energize Trade platform. So eventually, the victim had made dozens of transactions and was ready to withdraw her funds. At that point, she was told the Energize Trade customer service that she had to pay taxes first. Then she was told that because she had used another person's ID number, Bill's account number, she would pay taxes again, this time from her own account. After that, she was told to deposit more money to increase her credit score so that she could withdraw a larger amount of funds. So at this point, the victim realized that this was a scam. At the end, the victim reports losing about $203,900 to this scam. Next slide, please. So another common crypto asset scam is called rug pull. And this is derived from the expression pulling the rug out. This is when scammers hype up a crypto asset to rapidly increase its value, allowing the scammers to sell at an inflated price. They may do this by posting on social media or even using celebrities to post about this crypto asset as well. Once they get it up to a certain amount, the scammers then disappear with the money that they've raised, and the crypto asset turns out to be nothing more than a smokescreen for a cash grab. So what can you do to protect yourself? Do not make fast investment decisions. Find, read, and analyze before investing money. Do not believe in getting huge profits by investing just a few dollars. Be suspicious of sudden token price jumps. Huge price jumps are the indicator of price manipulation. Be afraid of anonymous teams claiming to be crypto gurus. Next slide, please. So in 2022, DFPI received 694 crypto complaints. That was a 140% increase from 2021. And that's about 40% of these complaints were related to frauds and scams. And about 30% of these complaints were related to consumers not being able to withdraw or transfer their funds. The reported complaint numbers may seem low, and it may be because Californians may not know who or where to report their cases. But what's important to note is the 140% increase from the previous year, and I'm sure that we're going to see another increase this year. So please visit our website at dfpi.ca.gov and take a look at our crypto scam tracker to learn more about the specific complaints the DFPI has received so far. And you can use this information to protect yourself when engaging in crypto transactions. Next slide, please. So here's some safety tips when it comes to crypto assets. Do your research. Again, learn more about what you're going to be investing in. Gather information from more than one resource. And never share your personal account information to someone who calls or emails you unsolicited. And don't rush into anything. Scammers prey on the fear of missing out, also known as FOMO, fear of missing out. Well, check your government agency websites for scam information. And again, ask yourself why you're investing in cryptocurrency. Again, there are lots of other investment vehicles and many which can offer greater stability and less risk than digital currencies. Again, remember to note, cryptocurrency is unregulated and extremely volatile. Alan?
Ooh, wow. Thank you, Sally, for sharing how these crypto scams work and some things that we can do to avoid falling for them. Before we turn to our next guest, do you have some resources that you can share with our audience?
Yes, would love to. Next slide, please. So please contact us, dfpi.ca.gov, for more information on crypto assets and the crypto scam tracker. Go to the SEC, Commodities and Futures Trading Commission websites for more information. And you can also go to FTC's Cryptocurrency Consumer Advice page. What's important to note here is that there's a lot of government resource to help you better understand crypto assets before you invest so you don't become the next victim of fraud. Next slide, please. So we publish a monthly newsletter with information about common frauds and scams, upcoming events, and more. And you can subscribe using this link or again, visiting our website. We also have a YouTube channel where you can see a myriad of videos on the webinars that we've hosted or participated in. And also, please take a moment to take a quick 4-question survey about my presentation here today following this link. And back to you, Alan.
Wow, thank you, Sally. DFPI is a great resource for this topic. So much going on that is easily beyond our understanding. And DFPI apparently has some really good ideas and resources for us. So thank you so much. Now let's welcome our next guest, Lisa Feldman. Lisa is a prosecutor with the United States Attorney's Office, and she prosecutes people accused of federal cyber crimes related to computer hacking and cyber fraud. So welcome, Lisa. First, please tell us about your role at the U.S. Attorney's Office and why scammers use cryptocurrencies in their scams.
Okay, well, first off, good afternoon, everyone. I'm thrilled to be here. And it's wonderful that AARP is putting this on because this information is really important and people need it. So thank you for having me. So I'm a federal prosecutor, as Alan said, and I prosecute these cyber crimes and frequently prosecuting what we call transnational cyber fraud and cyber computer intrusion. And one thing to know about that, and I've been doing this for several years, And part of what I'm doing today is to give the federal perspective, Sally, with having gone with the state agency, and I'm trying to give you the federal perspective of what we do here. In the cases that I handle and that they handle in our section, we're dealing with very, very sophisticated groups. They're transnational groups in many instances. Certainly in the cryptocurrency sphere, we see that. And they are, I want to emphasize to people, it's so sophisticated and manipulative that you may not recognize it. And they use social engineering to trick people into sending money, sending cryptocurrency. And so you really do need, as Sally said, to be looking for these red flags and to be alert to that so that you don't fall for these scams. Let's see. And before I go further, my remarks here today, I have to say this, my remarks here today are my own and don't necessarily reflect the views of the Department of Justice or the U.S. Attorney's Office. All right. And that applies to every slide. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so why do scammers want you to use cryptocurrency? And Sally gave many excellent reasons as to why. There's different factors about that, but I'm going to add some others. A cryptocurrency transfer is immediate. So it's not like a bank where you may have some time where the banks can possibly, if they're alerted to the fraud, they can freeze funds possibly and then send them back to you. But that doesn't happen with crypto. It is immediate. So you should think of it like digital cash. You know, would you send cash in those amounts to people because you may never see it again? It's also different, obviously, than credit cards, which you can dispute a credit card. So crypto transfers, when they're done, and for fraud, the fraudster gets the money, boom. And so that's very attractive to fraudsters to engage in these cryptocurrency scams. It's also pseudo-anonymous. A cryptocurrency wallet is not linked to an owner's ID. In other words, if you're sending money to a bank, you generally, it could be a fraudulent account, but you get some kind of name, there's some sort of identification information, but not the case with cryptocurrency wallets. And fraudsters rely on that. And there are challenges with tracing the funds to a cryptocurrency wallet and recovery. And the government is able to do that. And that's how we're able to prosecute these cases. But there are challenges, and tracing is something that people need to have experience and training in that. So some local agencies don't always know how to do that. So there's some, it's attractive to the fraudsters to do what they can so that it's harder to trace. Okay.
Wow. Thank you, Lisa. I've heard crypto confidence scams also referred to as pig butchering. Can you explain this?
Yes, please. Next slide, please. Okay, I want to start out by saying this is a prolific scam right now, and I'm going to give you some statistics, and Sally touched on some of those. I understand that pig butchering is an offensive term. We realize that. It is a term that applies to victims. It's used to describe victims, and it's a horrible term. However, in law enforcement and the scammers use that term. And so it's something that, of course, sticks in your mind. And so I'm going to be using that term today, and law enforcement uses it with the hope that this will stick in your mind as a scam, and you can help in talking to others. They'll recognize immediately what kind of scam you're talking about, and hopefully be able to warn others that you know. So pig butchering, as says in the slide, it's a sophisticated scam to convince consumers to invest, and I say in quotes, invest in cryptocurrency. The funds, however, are actually not invested and are actually being transferred straight to the scammer. And so you're not going to be getting that money back. And victims are often targeted through dating websites, but also through wrong number texts. We're seeing an increasing number of that, as well as professional networking sites where someone approaches you. And I'm going to go through the stages, but it's something where someone is approaching you with this particular opportunity. Okay, next slide. Pig butchering scams are devastating, and part of the biggest reason is because there's so much money that they're making. It was in 2022, last year, the investment scams were the costliest scams that were reported to the FBI's IC3, which is the Internet Crime Complaint Center that keeps track of these things. But cryptocurrency investment fraud rose from 907 million from 2021 to $2.57 billion in losses. And that's an increase of over 183%, as it says there. And the key thing to know is that pig butchering is almost all of those numbers. And that's why I wanted to talk about that today and kind of elaborate on what Sally was saying. Next slide. Oh, and let me also say that somewhere in the chat, I think at some point, the FBI has put out an excellent PSA. It's a warning, a written warning on pig butchering scams, and I encourage you to read that. It's very recent. It was put out, I think, in March or April of 2023. That's how recent the scam is. Okay, so you'll see that what happens in these scams, and this one in particular, they use social engineering to build trust. So there'll be an initial contact, and as I mentioned, that could be on a romance site. It could be often the wrong number text or networking sites or other sites. And then over a period of time, these scammers are building trust very slowly. They take a lot of time. It's worth it to them because they're hoping to get a lot of money out of the scam. And then ultimately the victim starts to trust them. But what happens here, it's different than romance scam. A romance scam person might start saying, give me money. But here it's not. The scammer's not saying, give me money. They're saying, well, you know, I'm pretty wealthy, and one thing leads to another. And the person gets the impression that they've made some money, and somehow the scammer will raise, well, you know, I got my money from investments, the cryptocurrency. Oh, really? Tell me about that. And so ultimately, it's this process where because of the trust, you feel like you're talking to your friend, and then they've now given you this terrific referral to some sort of cryptocurrency investment. And sometimes it could be a fake advisor. So they refer you to and how to set this up. And this is the key part of the scam. It's a fake app or a fake website, but you think it's real. They then coach you how to use that website or app to then invest in crypto. You think you're investing. And then, and I'll tell more later, but it ends up lulling you into false sense of security. You think you're making money and you're not. And ultimately you're pressured to give more and more. And then you ultimately can't get the money out. And this is cryptocurrency. Okay, next slide. Here's an example of the initial contact, and you'll see it's a wrong number. Hello, Daniel, congratulations on a great seed round. But then the person says you have a wrong number. And now normally someone might say, oh, you know, I'm done. But then at the end there, you see, I think you're a friendly person. Hello, let's meet. Basically, my name is Alina. What's your name? So they start striking up this conversation. Okay, next slide. And then over time of this text string, this other person that had texted with the wrong number ultimately says in the middle there that they're mainly engaged in clothing import and export and digital currency. And so then asks for the marital status. So you can see where that's going. And then people may just continue on in that conversation and it goes from there. So it's very manipulative. People don't understand it. It's not a quick, you know, here's a scam, here's an investment opportunity. It's over time. Okay, next slide, please. This is just an example of where a scammer might say, here's how to set up your account, here's how to use it, because a lot of the people, they have funds, they want to invest, but they're not familiar with cryptocurrency. And so this scammer is going to be very patient at the beginning. And here, let me show you how to do it and how to use it and etc. And so they'll spend a lot of time trying to make sure that you are signing up for this thing that, you know, in the end, your money is not being invested. Okay, next step or next slide. Here is an example to show that these websites, that it looks like it's a cryptocurrency trading platform of some sort. And you can see here how this looks very realistic. They will give you this app or site and you'll look at it and you'll think, wow, this looks like real. And there's even a story that I heard from one victim where the victim had actually asked their financial advisor if this looked legit, and the financial advisor said yes and thought it did, and in fact it was not. That's how realistic these are. It looks like, as you can see it, and this was just someone had videotaped what some of these look like, but you can't just think, oh, I'll recognize this. Okay, next slide. Now, once you have, let's say you've been going along in this with this person that you've met online somehow, and they've sent you some sort of wallet. You've set up the cryptocurrency platform. You think this is going to work and you're going to be investing. And then they send you some sort of wallet for you to transfer your cryptocurrency. And in this, the part that's so, just insidious is that you see on this app or website, it looks like your account balance is rising as you are investing, so to speak, investing in quotes. But in fact, it's all fake. Nothing's, there's no account balance and your funds are going to the scammer. Now, initially, they will allow you to withdraw. Again, quotes, it's not invested, but if you ask for some money, the scammer ends up being the one sending you the money. You think you're withdrawing it from your account, but it's the scammer sending it. And they call this an inducement payment, and it's meant to engender trust. Like, oh, I'm making these funds, I'm getting money back, great. But in the end, as your account balance goes up and you think your cryptocurrency is doing well, at a point you're going to want to withdraw some of it because you've made certain profits and you've watched your profits rise. And then at that point, and Sally alluded to this, the victim will not be able to withdraw or access that account. And they think, wait a minute, what's going on? And they're told, well, you have to pay some sort of fees, you have to pay some sort of taxes. And in one case, there's probably several of these penalties where they'll say, well, somebody thought this might be money laundering and there's been a penalty assessed and you have to pay that penalty. And they come up with what sounds like realistic sounding excuses. And of course, a person wants to be able to access the funds that they've put in. So they figure they pay some sort of smaller fee. But in the end, ultimately, the victim's going to figure out this sounds like a scam. And then at that point, the victim is not allowed at all to access any funds at all. And the scammer disappears with their money because all the funds have in fact been sent straight to the scammer's wallet. Okay, next slide. And there is an excellent, it's a PSA, it's a video that has been put out by a company that, and this is publicly available, that put out what they're referring to as a PSA episode on pig butchering. They have other videos also on scams, but the pig butchering one is at this link, and it's excellent. It really gives you a sense to be able to visualize what it's like to fall for a pig butchering scam. Of course, the government doesn't try to endorse any particular company, but this one is available, and they did consult with the FBI in writing the script. So it seems very realistic and will give you an idea of what it's like and what you can do. And hopefully by watching that, you can avoid some of these red flags. Okay.
Wow. So, Lisa, we should be really careful when anyone tries to involve us in cryptocurrencies. What can we do if we have been scammed?
Well, if you've been scammed, we highly recommend that you immediately report the scam to the FBI, first to your local police, to the FBI and the United States Secret Service, that's the USSS, and do not notify the scammers. And I put this in the slide. So to report with the FBI, you go to what's, again, the Internet Crime Complaint Center. It's www.ic3.gov. And there's an online report that you're going to fill out. And also you're going to email the Secret Service, which is also very helpful. And that's the email is listed here in the slide, cryptofraud@secretservice.gov. Next slide, please. I want to explain what you need to put in the report. So it's very important that, number one, you report it immediately to as many places as you can, but the ones I've mentioned are the most critical, I think. But in your report, it's vital that you add a complete copy of your cryptocurrency transaction history with the suspected criminal. So that's going to include the following, and I've written this out here. So the date and time of the transaction, or transactions, or multiple transaction hashes, the wallet address, both yours and the criminals, and the web address used to log on to the fraudulent investment platform, or used to download the app. That's the fraudulent app. Because all that information, hopefully at some point, people may be able to investigate that. Now, I want to explain expectations. IC3 and some of these don't expect a phone call back. Sometimes people think, well, wait, I didn't hear back. It's one thing is it's also looking at trends. I see through in particular trends within the United States and trying to figure out where they can focus their energies or investigations. So they may be investigating, but not notifying you until much later. If they're able to find someone or find the funds and recover them, then you would be getting a phone call. So it could be months or later after that you might be getting a call. And if I should also say, sometimes these scammers, although this cryptocurrency based, this pig butchering, on occasion, if someone says I can't do crypto, they'll send it by, can I send a wire of regular currency? They will sometimes allow that. And in that case, you should notify your bank immediately, because it is possible if the funds have not been withdrawn on the other end, they potentially could freeze the funds and return them to you. That's banks, but not the exchanges. Next slide. And it's very important to emphasize this. And it's just awful that scammers do this, but there are what these called beware of recovery companies. So you might, after you've been victimized, get approached or get some online communication that there's a recovery company that can help you out to help recover your funds. And many of these are scams, or in fact, often linked to the original scammers. And so it's a way to scam you twice. So you have to be very, very careful. They'll claim they can recover your lost funds. You should know that the FBI does not accept third-party crypto tracing reports or any other information provided by these third-party companies. So if you think you're doing it to give to the law enforcement, they're not going to accept that. And sometimes they have mistakes as well. So let me back up. Even if a recovery company is legitimate, and I'm told there are some that are legitimate, I'm also told that many of those, their reports do contain errors, and law enforcement has to do its own cryptocurrency tracing anyway. So, just keep that in mind, that, be very, very wary of these recovery companies. Okay, next slide. And here, I've given a lot of kind of scary news about this, and to be careful. And yes, cryptocurrency, there are challenges in tracing it and recovering. However, federal government's on it. And here's an example of a recent seizure this year, where the Justice Department seized over $112 million in cryptocurrency funds relating to a pig butchering scam. It was extremely successful. And law enforcement is savvy to these scams and really working hard to be able to recover funds. You can read the full press release at the link that's in the slide, and I think they're going to be sending that in the chats as well. So with that, I think.
Okay, thank you so much, Lisa. Wow. Now let's take some questions from our audience, and you can either type your question into the Q&A section using the icon at the bottom of your Zoom window, or you can use the raise hand icon that's also at the bottom of the Zoom window. So let's start with a question. I consider myself a pretty tech savvy person. Won't I be able to recognize a crypto scam, Lisa?
That's an excellent question, and a lot of people think that. And the answer is very often not, because as I mentioned earlier, these websites and sites, sometimes they actually spoof a real cryptocurrency platform. And so it will look very, very real. Or they just come up with something else that looks very real. And so you cannot assume that you will be able to detect this. And I think the biggest thing is, if someone that you don't know is initiating contact with you, especially online, and is the one raising the issue about cryptocurrency investment, that's a big red flag. And I want to emphasize again, to go into your question, everything I've seen in the years I've been here, these scammers are professionals. they're doing this day in and day out. They're focusing on this. They spend a lot of time and energy on creating these fake websites and apps and in social engineering and manipulating people. They really have it down. And so you know, a lot of people, oh, it won't happen to me. I've heard of that. It won't happen to me. Well, you know, keep your guard up because they're really good. And it's often very, very hard to tell. And as I said, the financial advisor that somebody, you know, a victim had used actually thought it was legitimate, one of these fake apps. So got to be very careful.
Okay, thanks, Lisa. Judy Taylor put a comment in the chat, in the Q&A, and I think that Strat is going to bring her audio up. Judy, go ahead.
Hi there.
Hi,
Hey.
Judy.
Go ahead, Judy.
Hi, Judy.
Hi, Sally.
Hello.
SCV Senior Center person here.
Yes, I remember.
Lisa, loved your presentation. It was absolutely fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
My comment is, for some reason, the little old lady with white hair is a member of the LAFBI Senior Scams Working Group. And just before COVID hit, they suggested that volunteers at senior centers and libraries become familiar with the IC3 form.
Yes,
People don't
good.
know about it. They don't know how to complete the forms online. And along came COVID, and that, you know, kind of initiative went away. I am going to bring it up at our next meeting, which is, you know, 3 months from now, I think. And the thing that, and I am affiliated with an International Technology Association, and I recommended all the tech clubs in the US have somebody at one of their meetings and advertise it, that they can help fill out these forms.
Oh, I'm so
And along came COVID, and so many of us now are just, you know, Zoom groups, you know, or hybrid, which would work just fine. So I'm going to bring that up again too. What I tell people is one of my daughter's mother-in-law got the scam where she heard from Walmart that said, gee, we need these 2 extra pieces of information, and in your form, you didn't complete them. And her mail had been stolen when she had moved from one house to the other. And I said, please put a script together. Sit down and talk yourself all the way through it. She called the sheriff's department. They came out to her house at least 3 times. I said, put your script together. Every time you report it to somebody, you are saying this exact same thing. And you're not thinking, oh, I already said that, and leave that part out.
Right. No, you're so smart to say that. Exactly. While it's fresh in your mind, keep track of all of that information. And by the way, I'm so glad you raised this. The IC3 complaint, it's detailed. And I think you're exactly right that they're, you know, I've talked to people where they needed some help from someone to fill it out. And so I think that would be incredible if you could have people that would be helping others. And the reason IC3 is so critically important, that's the one we say, you know, if nothing else, please report to them, because they're collecting all this. They're the experts with these kinds of transnational crimes. And they're the ones that are helping to figure out where, you know, where to investigate. And it's just really important. And you should also add, you know, with IC3, once that information's in there, again, you may not hear for a while, but you may hear, and I've had several cases, you know, down the line where we then are able to look in the database and figure out, okay, who are some of the victims? And they filed a report, and then you can find the victims, and they could be listed for number 1, restitution if it's available, if the person has money, but they're still listed for restitution under the Victims' Rights Act. And then they also can make their victim impact statements. So there's a lot of other, and of course, witnesses if the case is prosecuted. So there's a lot of other important benefits of the IC3 data. So we really encourage that. Thank you.
I understand your Central Coast.
Me, West Coast.
Oh, okay. I thought you were in Central Coast in California.
LA, yeah.
Okay, well, we're now meeting with the Central Coast, their version of the Senior Scams Working Group. We had our first meeting a couple of weeks ago. because our leader, first leader retired, the second leader has gone on to do something different. So we always learn something new, and it's so important for the information to be accumulated, because there was a district attorney's office down in San Diego that prosecuted grandparent scams. And it was because of the information had been collected, because the government really can't prosecute, but the San Diego DA's office could, and the people got their money back.
Good.
Great. Thank you, Judy, and thank you, Lisa. We have another question from Heidi Nelson, placed in the Q&A, and Strat, if you will unmute Heidi so she can pose her question. Go ahead, Heidi.
Hello, my name is Heidi Nelson. I was scammed by a organization that did exactly what you were saying. Set up my profile on a website. They kept asking me for fees that they would just change the name on. They would say withdrawal fee, then they said activation fee, then they said taxes, and at that point I couldn't keep up with the fees that they were saying. And they took me for $4,890 with this website entitled Future Index Pro, and they changed it from a .com to a .net, so I see that as rug pulling. But I was wondering if there was a way to be reimbursed for the funding that I've put into this.
Well, first, I'm so sorry that happened, and I'm glad that I'm talking to you. So again, I would encourage you to please file an IC3 report. It's not like the bank, unfortunately. If it's cryptocurrency, the bank can't really help you, but file the IC3 report, email Secret Service and file a report. And again, maybe down the line, if we're able to find the criminals and get to them and prosecute them, or if the government can be able to trace these crypto and seize the crypto accounts like in that press release, then they can and figure out who the victims are. Hopefully they could give you some money back. But the first step would be to report it so that the government is aware that you lost that. And in these cases, we've had people, that's the reason the loss is so high, they lose their life savings. I mean, hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars, some people, it's just horrendous. So please fill out that form. And I hope we can help you.
Heidi, are you a California resident?
Yes.
Okay, then you're going to want to go ahead and file a complaint to us
Okay.
at the DFPI.
DFPI. Okay.
Okay, so now again, I know Lisa mentioned you will not, quote, get reimbursed, but we will track those fraudulent platforms like the one you mentioned.
Okay.
If there is any legal action, there is a chance that you would get a portion of your money back, but that could be way out there in the future. But again, like Lisa said, we are collecting that data and then putting that information out there on their scam tracker so that we can warn other Californians, other residents about that platform, that fake platform, so that others don't fall victim to it as well in the meantime.
Yes. Okay.
Wow. Thank you, Heidi, for sharing that story. Sally, how can we protect ourselves from falling victim to these kinds of scams?
I would say, first of all, joining us today, learning about the potential type of scams out there is step number one. And then again, if it's something sounds too good to be true, trust your instincts, because it probably is a scam. And then never engage with texts from people that you do not know. Do not click on any links via text or emails, because it can end up at fake platforms. So you just want to do your research. If you want, before you give up your hard-earned money and thinking that you're going to invest $500 in cryptocurrency, which you know nothing about, and thinking you're going to make $3,000 in short term, it's most likely not going to happen, but it can. But you need to educate yourself. do the research, spend the time before you start investing in cryptocurrency and crypto assets.
Wow, thank you. Lisa, would you like to add anything further to the discussion?
Well, that was well put, Sally. So of course I echo all of those, and I'm kind of thinking of what else. One I mentioned earlier of if someone's approaching you and raising the issue, that's a big red flag. Another big red flag is if someone's ever pressuring you into doing anything. That goes for all scams, frankly, but we're talking about the cryptocurrency today, but any kind of pressure, and that does happen in this scam. And you have to be careful, beware of referrals, because they'll say, oh, I'll have my financial advisor vouch for this. Well, yeah, that's the scammer giving you the phone number of his co-conspirator scammer friend who you're going to end up talking to. So that doesn't help you. Like Sally said, you want to be, first of all, just use your due diligence on any kind of investment ever, but be particularly careful with cryptocurrency for all the reasons we mentioned today. And I think one thing with this pig butchering scam that's just really terrible, as has been explained to me, you feel sort of this sense of, it's not that you're paying this person you just met. You're investing with someone else, and the person you just met is kind of your friend, and they're helping to guide you. And so just don't fall for stuff like that. Just be on the lookout and on guard for anything involving, cryptocurrency, any kind of scam, but crypto in particular.
Great, thanks. Appreciate that, Lisa. Sally, what's happening what's coming up in DFPI that maybe the audience can tap into, or how can they reach you for a community presentation?
Oh, yes, that's a great question. Alan, I'd love to share that, yes, go on our website at dfpi.ca.gov. We have a wealth of information. We have press releases that talk about some of our enforcement actions against companies that shouldn't be doing business, and some do involve cryptocurrencies. And then just know that you're not alone. You are not the only victim. There are others before you, and there unfortunately will be victims after you. And so we need your help in reporting that to us so that we can take that information to help protect others from it. And if you'd like to have a presentation from our outreach team, you can email us at outreach.dfpi.ca.gov. That'd be the email address. And check our website for upcoming events that we are attending and participating at on a weekly basis. We have a 6-member outreach team, and we'd love to be out there helping your organizations get the information out there. Thanks, Alan.
Thank you, Sally. Wow, this has been an information-packed conversation. So I'd like to thank our wonderful panelists for sharing their time and advice today. Sally Westlake with the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, and Lisa Feldman, who is a federal prosecutor with the United States Attorney's Office. And also thanks to Strat Maloma for organizing this event and managing the slides, and to Jackie Wiley for managing the chat. So Strat, can you show the slide of upcoming, you've already done it. Upcoming events are already here. And Jackie's adding those into the Zoom chat so that you have clickable links right in the chat. So you can find the icon for that at the bottom of your Zoom screen.
Alan, I'll just let you know that Judy has a hand raised and may have one additional question.
Oh, great. Okay, Judy, go ahead.
I would like to know how you would like us to download all of the information that is in the chat, since we need the URLs and all that good kind of stuff that are in there.
I know you can click the chat links. I think that you can also do a a copy and paste,
Yeah, that's it.
right? If you do a copy using the method that your device recommends for doing copy, then you can paste that information into a text document like a word processor, like Word or something similar to that. That would be a good way to preserve those if you don't, if you want to refer to them later. Sally?
There is a way, and I don't know if Strat and Marissa are able to do this afterwards, but when they send a follow-up thank you for joining our webinar today, they could list, if they're able to, some of the resources that we have provided throughout the presentation as well as in the chat. Strat, Marissa, maybe you can comment.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Marissa.
We will do that. I'll put that in, and everybody who attended and registered for the event today will get that email this afternoon, and it will include all of these resources.
Terrific. Thank you, Marissa. So I want to thank everyone here in the audience for joining our conversation today and for your excellent comments and questions and contributions. I hope that you found this conversation helpful, and please pass the info along to your friends. And join us again next Wednesday when we'll be talking about imposter scams. These are scammers who impersonate business and government organizations. And you can register. Please visit us at the website states.aarp.org, California, events-ca. Is that, and Jackie, could you paste that one into the chat? So please register, join us on Friday as well after that for another interesting conversation coming down on AI-generated frauds and scams. That's a really important one to learn about as well. Meanwhile, if you do have questions about fraud, you can contact the AARP Fraud Watch Network at 887-908-3360, or visit us online at aarp.org/fraudwatchnetwork. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for joining us.